Amelia Sinclair's heels clicked a strict rhythm on the cracked city pavement, the sound swallowed by a sudden April downpour. She ducked beneath her umbrella, shielding the stack of blueprints on her arm, meticulous as always. To her, rain was an inconvenience, a variable you designed out of your life, not danced through. Mid-stride, she collided with something solid, or rather, someone. Blueprints scattered like confetti, ink smudging in the puddles. "Whoa, I'm so sorry." A warm, sensitive tone of voice, apologetic voice called. He reached for the fluttering pages. He looked up, tousled brown hair, rain clinging to his lashes, and a violin case strapped over his shoulder. Amelia bristled, retrieving a soaked sketch. "Watch where you're going, please. These plans are for the Brixton Towers project. They're about to get a very creative redesign," he joked, handing her a dog-eared page. Amelia blinked. He grinned, unbothered by the rain streaking down his jacket. "Let me help." She hesitated, guarding her work, but his sincerity was as open as the gutter streams swirling around them. Together, they scrambled after the paper, their laughter rising above the rain's steady drum. "You play the violin?" she asked, nodding to the battered case as she stuffed the last of the blueprints away. "Yes, been playing for the city as long as I can remember. The tunnels are my stage." She managed a smile despite herself. "Amelia." He offered his hand. "Leon." For a moment, they simply stood there, raindrops weaving around them, suspended on the edge of something neither could quite name yet. The storm didn't feel quite as inconvenient anymore. Leon tilted his head, his eyes curious. "Ever heard Vivaldi in a thunderstorm?" She shook her head, expecting to hurry off. He grinned wider. "You should. Maybe next time." Amelia took a breath. Maybe. As she walked away, she realized she was smiling. The kind of smile you can't pencil into a blueprint. Behind her, the city played its watery symphony, and somewhere, a violinist continued his song. But deep down, Amelia already sensed this collision had changed her course. The world felt a shade lighter, just for a moment, between raindrops. Amelia spent the week weaving her days through drafts and deadlines, but her thoughts kept drifting back to Leon and the way he smiled through the downpour. It was a distraction she couldn't quantify, but it shimmered just beneath the surface of her otherwise ordered life. On Friday evening, still braving a persistent drizzle, Amelia's train pulled into Holland Street Station. Through the sliding doors and commuter's shuffle, a familiar string melody floated, chirping, chasing, tumbling, making the air shimmer. She paused, clutching her umbrella and searching for the sound. There, tucked near an archway, was Leon, bow swooping across the strings as if painting the very rain in the air. Coins glittered in his open case, but more than that, faces in the crowd glowed, momentarily transfixed. He caught her gaze, finishing the last notes and offering a quick bow. "Amelia, right? I hoped I'd see you again." She tried to look unimpressed, but the truth slipped out in a smile. "You're hard to miss." Leon patted the bench beside him. "Care to join me? I promise I won't drench any blueprints today." Despite herself, she sat, knees nearly touching his violin case. People passed, their lives streaming around them. You play for the crowd? She asked, watching him. For anyone who'll listen. Sometimes just for myself. Leon's tone grew thoughtful. Everyone rushes, shielded by their own plans. But music, it lives in those unscripted moments. Like the rain. She considered this. Isn't it scary? Not knowing what happens next? He studied her. Sometimes. But it's also freeing. Not having to fit someone else's design. For a few beats, she let the thought linger. Then he offered her the violin. "Wanna try?" She laughed, shaking her head. "I can barely whistle a tune." "So what? Play a note. Just one." His encouragement, or was it challenge, warmed her cheeks. Gingerly, she took the bow, drawing a quivering note from the string. The sound quaked, imperfect, alive. Leon applauded anyway, eyes bright. "See? You changed the song's course." Amelia handed the instrument back, her heart unexpectedly light. Just for a moment, though. He grinned, tucking a rain-damp strand of hair behind her ear. Sometimes a moment is all you need. The echo of his words followed her home, crowding out her worries. And Amelia began to wonder, what could life be if she let just a little more music in? A week passed, the city easing into blushes of green as spring thickened. Amelia's days were tightly choreographed, site visits, client calls, and long hours in the hush of glass-walled conference rooms. But at dusk, she let herself wander, sometimes deliberately, sometimes by accident, past the subway station, just to see if Leon would be there. One Tuesday evening, her heart pounded as the faint trill of violin echoed once more through the station. There he was, head bent, fingers dancing. When he looked up and spotted her, his entire face lit up. "Thought you'd vanished," Leon teased, setting aside his violin. "Some of us have jobs with schedules," she replied, taking a seat beside him, a little closer than last time. He arched an eyebrow. "Maybe the city would stand still for just one song? I'll try." Her voice softened, the pressure of her workday easing. She listened in silence as he launched into something wild and beautiful. Notes swirling and dipping, like pigeons looping through city squares. When he finished, Amelia spoke without really meaning to. "You sound like you're in two places at once, here and somewhere far away." Leon looked almost startled. "No one's ever said that to me before. I guess I am, here with you, but also back home." "Where is home?" He shrugged, gaze distant. "Came from a smaller town. Came here for music schools. But things don't always go as you plan, you know?" Amelia glanced down, considering blueprints and setbacks. "Yeah, I know that more than I'd like." A comfortable quiet stretched between them. Then Leon pulled out a wrinkled flyer. "I have a set at Courtier Cafe this Saturday. Not subway level, but coffee's hot and the roof doesn't leak. Will you come?" Amelia's instinct was to consult her calendar. She paused, then smiled. "I think I will." He grinned in reply, hopeful. "I'll save you a seat, front row." As she walked home in the gentle mist, Amelia realized she was letting go, just a little, of her endless planning. For the first time in a long while, she let anticipation, not anxiety, fill the space between her thoughts. And all night, the memory of wild music in the station played on in her mind, sweet and unruly as rain. Saturday dawned gray and damp, drizzle threading between city rooftops as though it too was reluctant to let the week go. Amelia lingered at the edge of her mirror, fussing with her hair. her reflection as nervous as she felt inside. She almost bailed. 3 times she considered it, but the memory of Leon's laughter outweighed the voice preaching about pending deadlines. Courtier Café was tucked beneath a canopy of blooming wisteria, windows fogged with warmth. Inside, the rain pattered a gentle applause on the glass. She spotted Leon instantly, on stage, bow poised, fingers flexing with anticipation. Before she could second-guess, he saw her, a flash of relief and excitement tumbling across his face. He nodded at a reserved chair in front, her seat, as promised. The space filled quickly, the silence thick with quiet expectation. Leon stepped up to the mic. "I stumbled into someone in the rain last week. She had blueprints, I had a violin, and together we made a little chaos. This first song is for the dreamers and the careful planners. Sometimes you need both." The opening notes rippled out, soft and haunting. Amelia felt the music spill over her, pulling her out of herself, dashing her neatly stacked worries. Between songs, they exchanged small smiles. Wordless, electric. After the set, the crowd thinned, but Leon found her by the door. "You didn't run away." She smirked. "I don't run, unless I'm late for a meeting." They sat tucked by the window, mugs of coffee warming their hands. The conversation wandered. Favorite architects, beloved composers, the weird little city corners each loved most. They laughed about soggy blueprints and subway mishaps, and Amelia realized Leon's world was as rich with improvisation as hers was with structure. Then, out of nowhere, he asked, "What do you really want, Amelia? Not what's next on the schedule, but for you." She hesitated, watching the droplets race down the glass. "I don't know. I guess I've been checking off boxes for so long, I forgot I could want something for myself." His gaze was soft. "Maybe it's time you let yourself want. Life isn't just plans. Sometimes you have to play the notes that aren't written." Their knees brushed under the table, and Amelia felt a warmth she couldn't measure. As the rain quieted outside, she wondered, was this what it felt like to build something without a blueprint? Just following the moments between raindrops. By mid-May, the rain had eased, and the evenings were long, blue with possibility. Amelia, once content with routine, now found herself seeking out unpredictability. She and Leon began meeting after work, sometimes for coffee, sometimes to wander the city's alleyways, their laughter echoing off brick and glass. One Thursday, Leon arrived outside her office with a grin and a handful of wildflowers. "Adventure tonight?" he offered, already tipping his head toward the skyline. "There's a rooftop garden at 9th and Ferry. No one really knows it's there. The view's ridiculous." She hesitated only for a second. The flash of the office lights above made her pulse quicken, in a way she'd thought only deadlines could. "Lead on, maestro." Up narrow staircases and through a welded gate, they emerged into a tangle of greenery, alive with the hum of city lights. Amelia gasped. Potted irises, fairy lights, and the skyline bathed in gold. Leon pulled out his battered violin and played, the harmonies mixing with the thrum of distant sirens. Across the garden, Amelia let herself relax, lying beside him on a faded blanket. Their conversation meandered. Childhood dreams, first big failures, the secret wish to be understood. "You ever feel like you're missing out?" Leon asked quietly. "Sometimes. Mostly when I forget to look up." Amelia turned, her face inches from his. "Like now," he smiled, a gentle seriousness in his eyes. "You could design 100 towers, Amelia, but who makes sure you see the sky?" She tried to come up with something clever, but the closeness undid her thoughts. Instead, she reached over, her fingers tracing his jaw, drawing him in. The kiss was soft, tentative, a promise, not a question. For a moment, the city faded into silence, time pausing between rushes of wind. "I could get used to this," Leon murmured, smiling against her lips. "Me too," she whispered back. As they lay shoulder to shoulder, watching clouds drift past distant buildings, Amelia felt the last barriers crumble. Their lives were very different, to-do lists and subway songs, but together, in this secret rooftop haven, anything seemed possible. Tonight, she let the uncertainty in. She didn't fight the joy. And as dusk thickened into darkness, Amelia realized the blueprint of her heart was changing, drawn newly, line by trembling line, in the fragile beauty. Beautiful space between raindrops. Spring blurred into early summer, and with each day, Amelia and Leon's lives entwined a little more. They became a familiar sight, strolling hand in hand through city parks, or sharing hush-hushed secrets at their favorite bakery before work. Amelia's friends started to notice her laughter, fuller, brighter, a melody of its own. Yet change called from both sides. Amelia's firm landed a prestigious bid for a major civic development, the Riverfront Revitalization Project. Her boss pulled her aside after a boardroom presentation, eyes gleaming. "We want you as lead architect," he said. "But it'll mean overtime. Dinners at your desk. The board expects you all in." The news should have thrilled her, but instead, she felt a gnaw of uncertainty. She told Leon over impromptu ice cream on the library steps, watching students hurry past. He squeezed her hand. "You've worked for this, Amelia. Is it what you want?" She didn't have an answer. "It's everything I planned, but now I also want weekends with you. I want to see new places, build something real, not just buildings, you know?" Leon's gaze was soft, searching hers. "What's stopping you?" She chewed her lip. "I'm scared if I let go of my goals, I'll lose myself. But what if I lose us chasing them?" He tucked a stray lock of hair behind her ear. "You won't lose me so easily. Let's not borrow trouble before it comes." As the sun dropped, casting long shadows, Amelia rested her head on his shoulder and let herself breathe into the moment. She didn't have all the answers, but for tonight, that was okay. Together, they watched the city pulse, alive with choices, alive with hope. The future, it seemed, would take more than a blueprint. But she was beginning to believe that maybe, with Leon beside her, she could trace new lines, one raindrop at a time. By the time July arrived, the city shimmered with heat, and so did the anticipation buzzing beneath every word between Amelia and Leon. The Riverfront project demanded more and more of her days. Meetings bled into evenings. Some nights she barely saw the sunset. On a sleepless Tuesday, she received a late text from Leon. "You awake?" She smiled, replying, "Barely, missing our night walks." Minutes later, he was at her building, a silhouette at the door with 2 sodas and a half-melted chocolate bar. They ended up on the balcony, feet dangling above the street, city lights twinkling below. "You look tired," he said, passing her a soda. Amelia sighed, leaning against him. "It's the project. Sometimes I feel like I'm building a world I won't get to live in." He ran a gentle hand down her back. "You're making something beautiful. But what about your world? The one you want outside of blueprints?" She was quiet, thinking of their rooftop nights and the lazy mornings that work had begun to steal. "I wish I could hit pause, just for a week. No schedules, no deadlines, just us." Leon's gaze was mischievous. "Come away with me." She stared, half in disbelief. "Just like that?" He grinned, brushing his thumb over her knuckles. "Why not? Let's go on an adventure. The city will still be here when we get back." It was wild, wildly impractical. But something in Amelia, the part of her that now lived for the moments Leon created, said yes. "Okay, let's get lost. Just for a little while." He kissed her temple, relief and excitement mixing in the shape of his smile. As night fell, the doubts whispered in her mind. But the promise of a shared adventure ignited a spark. The challenge would be explaining to her boss, arranging coverage, letting go of control, if only for a few days. But as Leon pressed another kiss to her hair and laughter drifted into the stars, Amelia knew she was ready to rewrite her plans. For the first time, together, they would chase a story without maps. Just hope, joy, and the unpredictable magic found between each drop of rain. The next morning, Amelia's nerves tangled with excitement. She tried, awkwardly, to explain her sudden vacation days to her boss, who arched an eyebrow but relented after some tense silence. By noon, she and Leon were on a train with no set plan. Outside, the city blurred into green, their lives shifting into something softer, stranger, more spontaneous with every mile. They spent 2 days in a lakeside village, exploring cobbled streets, getting lost in bookstores, and buying pastries from a baker who insisted they try everything. Amelia's phone buzzed with emails, but she powered it off, letting the world carry on without her. On a windy dock, Leon played his violin for a crowd of ducks. Kids danced. Amelia spun, laughing, her hair catching the sun. Later, over picnic sandwiches by the water, Leon confessed, "Sometimes I'm terrified too. All this uncertainty. But with you, it's less scary." Amelia squeezed his hand, a soft ache in her chest. "I keep thinking, to live differently, I need to become someone else. But maybe I just need to be brave." Their days fell into a rhythm. Mornings with fresh croissants, afternoons chasing trails along the lake, evenings thick with stories and deepening trust. Amelia fell asleep each night beside Leon, the scent of rain on open windows, her mind blissfully empty of deadlines or expectations. One night, as thunder rolled in the distance, Leon whispered, "Thank you for saying yes, for leaping with me." Amelia touched his cheek, eyes shining in the storm's tattered light. "You taught me how." Yet even as the dawn brought new hope and comfort, an unease flickered at the edge of happiness. Leon's phone showed a missed call from an unknown number, a renowned orchestra scouting local talent. And back in the city, Amelia's project buzzed with unresolved questions. Their new reality begged decisions neither had prepared to face. Rain battered the window as they lay quietly, hearts full and uncertain. For a moment, they just listened together, safe in the hush, wondering what the world would ask of them next. The rain finally stopped, leaving the world washed and glistening. On their last morning by the lake, sunlight broke through the clouds, shimmering across still water and over the tangled sheets where Amelia and Leon lingered. There was a lazy peace to the moment, but beneath it, questions pressed in, stubborn and uninvited. Over breakfast, Amelia's phone finally came on. A flood of messages waited, panicked client emails, missed calls, her boss's clipped instructions. The riverfront project had stalled in her absence. She scrolled, heart pounding, torn between duty and the freedom she'd only just claimed. Leon, too, sat quietly, thumbing the missed call from the orchestra's conductor. The offer was clearer now. A year-long tour, starting in Europe, leaving in a month. Everything he'd once dreamed of, only now he was less sure where he belonged. They wandered down to the dock, the silence between them uneasy. Leon broke it first. They want me. A spot in the company, playing every night in a new city. I should be excited, Amelia. But her heart twisted. She wanted him to follow his dreams, but she ached at the thought of losing this new world they'd built together. But it's not just your dream anymore, is it? She said softly. We made something together. I don't want to hold you back. He took her hand, voice trembling. What if we don't have to choose? What if I could find a way to play and come home to you? Tears sprang to her eyes. If only it were so easy. My project, your music, the world doesn't always bend because we ask. He pulled her into an embrace as her voice wavered. Maybe it's not about bending the world. Maybe it's about trusting the spaces we've made, no matter how messy or fragile. They stood together for a long moment, holding on. But when their train pulled into the city that night, the world rushed back. Urgent, loud, insistent. Amelia was swept into the storm of her job, while Leon's audition loomed closer. The distance between them now measured in hours and train stops, in worry and longing, instead of shared rain and laughter. And yet neither let go. In texts and hurried calls, on rooftops and in subway tunnels, their love pulsed, sometimes as silence, sometimes as music, uncertain, beautiful, and very much alive, even as the moment that would change everything drew closer. 2 weeks blurred by in a whirlwind. Amelia wrestled with blueprints and meetings until dusk, always glancing at her phone for Leon's messages, tiny lifelines threading their separate days together. Leon sunk deep into rehearsals and auditions, heart in his throat, longing for the steadiness he found only in Amelia's arms. On a stormy Friday, the city buzzed with electric anticipation. The riverfront project faced its final presentation, and Leon's orchestra announced its chosen players. Their worlds spun on parallel tracks, each holding breath for pivotal news. The rain returned as Amelia's team sat before city officials, her hands steady, her vision for the river's future clear, passionate, and alive with possibility. When the meeting ended to applause, her boss clasped her shoulder, pride and relief mixing in his eyes. You did it, Amelia. The project is yours. As thunder rolled above the subway, Leon, violin case in hand, read the orchestra's email. He had been chosen. A tour across Europe, every night a new audience, every city a new whisper of possibility. Pride surged first, then a hollow ache. All he wanted was to share the news with Amelia, but he worried what his leaving might mean. That night, Amelia found Leon in the subway tunnel where they'd first met. The rainwater running in slick ribbons along the tiles. He was playing, not for coins, not for the crowd, but for himself, eyes closed, pouring longing and love into the music. She waited until the song finished, then stepped into his arms. "You did it," she murmured against his shirt. "And you did too," he replied, cradling her face. Their victory was bittersweet, both standing on the edge of everything they'd once wanted, knowing it could take them apart. "I have to go, Amelia. I can't turn this down, but I don't want to lose what we found," Leon said, voice breaking. Amelia pressed her forehead to his. "Then let's not. Let's trust the space between us, just like we trusted the rain. Let's make a promise, to choose each other, even when it's hard, to find our way back, no matter what." For the first time since that soggy April night, neither hid their tears. They held each other tightly, drawing courage from the music of the moment and from the stubborn, exquisitely uncertain hope love brings. As Leon's train pulled away days later, Amelia watched through the glimmering glass, heart aching, but fierce with pride. Her world wider than any blueprint could contain. From across cities, across oceans and time, their story played on. In every unsent note, in every letter home, in every moment between raindrops.